Well, there's a movement in Nebraska called Common Ground.
It's designed to start conversations between us, the people who buy food, and the women who grow it.
Joan Ruskamp is one of those women. She and her husband have a farm in Dodge, Nebraska. And Drew Guinea is from the Nebraska Soybean Board.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for coming in. We appreciate
Good
it.
morning. Thank you.
Tell us what Common Ground is.
Common Ground is a volunteer organization made up of women who have an association to agriculture. Either we farm, we raise livestock, and due to the fact that a lot of people are talking about food, and especially how food is raised in our country, it became apparent that those of us who are actually doing it need to have our voices be heard, and so we just want the chance to enter the conversation and share our stories.
And for people like us, opening up that dialogue where we want to make good choices, but we might not always have the information we need. So you must get some common questions about certain topics.
Right.
What do you answer most?
The two key questions concern antibiotics and hormones, especially since we raise cattle, we have a feedlot, and so those are the two big concerns. And so when I first started having the chance to meet with people, I went home and got on Google and just Googled antibiotics in animals, GMOs, and all those things, and I was shocked at what people can find that's so inaccurate. Yeah. And so, so then I realized how important it really is to make time. You know, we're all busy working on our farms, and so most of us just did what we did and enjoyed it and worked hard, but we didn't tell our story, and so now we know we need to get out and tell our story.
It's important to have that dialogue. You raise cattle. Tell us about your farm a little bit.
Right. Okay. So we are on my husband's grandparents' farm. So his dad and their family were all born and raised there. And Steve and I have been married 30 years. We have 5 children. Youngest is a senior in high school, and so we're entering a new phase. But we both built up the farm from 30 years ago into, we have a capacity of 4,000 head at our feed yard. And so it's rarely full, but that's what we can feed. And so my main role is doctoring, and in the morning I walk through cattle. That's what we do. Every feed yard across the country, we have people who either ride horses or walk, and each steer, each heifer, whatever's in there is looked at and made sure that their health is good, and if they're not, they're removed and we doctor them, take care of them.
Yeah, it's a personal thing, your farm, and you're very diligent to make sure, and that's the one thing that we cannot take for granted as consumers, the efforts that you take, and that's part of this conversation. Why is the Nebraska Soybean Board supporting this volunteer effort, and the Nebraska Corn Board too?
Yeah, absolutely. It started with an effort from the United Soybean Board and the National Corn Board, and they kind of saw the opportunity to step in and kind of really start sharing the stories. And we decided that women would be the best avenue to do this because women are primarily the primary grocery shopper in the household anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of peer-to-peer, woman-to-woman, kind of sharing their stories. And we just kind of wanted to let agriculture's voice be heard.
Yeah, and you brought in these blue grocery sacks right here, grocery bags.
Yeah.
Can you hold those up and kind of explain what the purpose of those
I'll
are?
let you do it, Joan.
Okay. Yep. All right. So when we're in an event, we were at the O-Fest, and so usually people are really easy to grab if you're giving them something. And so, and a shopping bag, I mean, who doesn't like a shopping bag, right?
Right.
And so we have these really nice shopping bags, and inside we have information, and we have a little bit more information for you than what we normally do, but we always have a recipe card. And the recipe card, this happens to be mine, features on one side what I do, who I am and where I'm located, and the other side has a recipe.
Yeah, keep holding it there so the camera can grab that.
I was going to say, what is your recipe for?
It's a taco ring.
Taco ring. Okay.
I'm kind of one of those people that like simple recipes.
Yeah.
I love watching the
You're
Food
speaking
Network,
our
but
language, Joe. We do simple really well
I
around
like
here.
things I can get out and make in a half
Yeah,
hour.
this is great.
And then our viewers can get a lot of this stuff online too, and some of these personal stories, right, Drew?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pretty strong social media presence. We have a blog kind of website going on, and that's CommonGroundNebraska.com, as well as you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CommonGroundNebraska.
And John, you mentioned O-Fest, but you speak throughout the year as other volunteers do, right? Where do you visit? Who do you speak to?
We try to make events where there's going to be people, especially urban people. I was born in Omaha, raised in Grand Island, and I understand the confusion there can be between not ever having been on a farm and really not knowing what goes on. And so I understand how there can be confusion, and we make events like the State Fair we were at, and honestly there's so many people it's hard to have conversation, but getting them information at least and a source to go to, that's really what we want to be. We want to be a source that people can go to versus just Googling and maybe getting more of an opinion to sway what you should eat versus some facts that they can actually say, okay, this makes sense.
And I imagine there's a lot of groups and organizations out there that are always looking for speakers, and this would be a great example, Common Ground. You could deliver a speech as a volunteer. How would those organizations contact you to, what's the process?
Oh, I would suggest contacting Common Ground through either Drew
You don't want us to just call your farm? Hey, Joan, you want to come to Omaha to talk?
You could,
Yeah.
but
But does Common Ground set that up as a larger organization?
That's generally what my role is, and then Kelsey Pope, who works at the Nebraska Corn Board, we just kind of help coordinate the events for these women to get to, and that way they can kind of go wherever they're needed and share the stories that people are interested in hearing these days.
Yeah, it's about facts and about appreciation, because I feel like sitting next to somebody like you who works hard to bring that to our table, you can appreciate the work that goes
thank
into
you.
it too. The website, well, the phone number there, we'll start with the Nebraska Soybean Board. We love their products. 441-3240, and you'll need to plug in the 402 before you get to that. But if you're interested in Common Ground and learning more about these amazing women and volunteers and the work they're doing, the website is there on your screen now. It's CommonGroundNebraska.
Yeah, and Joan, this recipe looks good though. It's easy.
It is.
Crescent roll dough, salsa water,
well,
sweet corn,
we'll
good
try to
stuff.
get that
We're
on
gonna
our
try this.
website too. We'll try to make
Okay.
sure we
We'll
get
post
that
it on
in
the
our
recipe section.
section.
Thanks for coming
Yeah.
today.